Anxiety, depression, we are all dealing with a little bit of mental health from time to time. You're not alone, baby. Just know it happens to the best of us. But we're going to give you 5 reasons on how you can get over this mental health and help you get through your day with a little bit of God. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you again for stopping by. It's your favorite Twin Flames. And baby, we are ready to talk about something that is probably affecting a lot of people out here. And that's the topic of mental health. And, you know, we all kind of deal with it a little bit. So we brought a special guest on today. We have a registered nurse who focuses and she actually practices in the area of mental health. We want to welcome everybody to the show. Miss Elizabeth Porter, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
So we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the subject of mental health. But bestie.
Hey, how are you?
This is my twin flame.
Yes, and that's my twin flame.
Everybody's twin flame.
Yes.
I'm sharing you with the world.
So you trying to say I'm a whore?
No.
You trying to pit me out
I'm
there?
I'm not picking about your past lives today, girl.
How you doing today?
Listen, man, you know, I'm feeling good.
Good.
I'm feeling like a karaoke day today.
Uh-oh.
Karaoke day.
Lord.
You know what that means. I got it in my blood, y'all.
What song you gonna sing?
Let's hear it.
Yes. Lord, let's
How
let's
will
go.
I know? You know, a little Whitney.
Oh, okay,
Come on.
go ahead. Let me hear some
If
bars.
she really loved me. Ooh, come on, Whitney.
Okay.
Don't y'all be judging me.
No, I'm
Listen,
not judging you.
I got it.
I'm your biggest
I
fan.
think so. I want to hear more.
I'm her biggest fan.
I want to hear more,
God bless
Janine.
Yo, you know Whitney's been dead like, how many years has it been? She died in 2013.
Oh my God.
That's a long time.
That's over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
What a voice.
What a voice indeed. We love Whitney Houston.
What a
Yes.
voice.
But that karaoke life, that amazing karaoke life that I have, something about karaoke raises the vibration.
It does.
Of people.
It really does.
Especially my voice.
You know what, bestie? You are absolutely
See,
right.
This is why I carry you in my pocket every day.
I remember one time I said you probably be in your home in the corner singing to yourself.
You know I would.
Because mind you, she has a karaoke mic.
I sure do.
And you bring it wherever you go.
And world, don't you be judging me, okay? Because I love karaoke. But honestly, though, seriously, karaoke, something about karaoke. Well,
Yes.
I can tell you based off experience.
Yes.
Something about karaoke truly makes me feel one with the world. I feel amazing when I sing.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because the facility that Elizabeth and I work at are about to start a study
Yeah.
on the correlation between karaoke and mental illness.
Wow.
And how it can help heal. And what else? Like just...
It's going to be interesting because some people are going to love it and some people are really going to shy away from it. Whoa.
Yeah.
How dare they?
Get that away from me. No.
Maybe you should
Sign me up.
try to get into a mental health
sign
facility.
me up.
Try to get into ours so you can show them.
You could be the leader, the one who gets them going.
You have said nothing but a word, Elizabeth. Nothing but a
She
word.
can leave her job for a couple weeks.
I swear to God, I
And
would.
visit
She would be great at that
She
when you
would.
think of, her walking in there with the karaoke. Okay,
Yes.
gang, here we go. Here we
I
are.
am telling you.
Listen, if the study fails, that's because I wasn't a part of it.
You are absolutely right.
Just understand that.
I think we need to see if they can help you facilitate. You know, it's funny. I just had a vision of you facilitating it
Right?
and snatching the mic from every patient. Let me show you. She'll make it about herself.
I'll start this.
Go.
Oh, I'm going to finish it while I'm at it.
All right.
You're doing it wrong.
Sounds like y'all are judging me.
Oh, no.
Sounds like y'all are judging me again.
I'm sorry.
Well, usually
sorry,
there's
though.
2 mics, aren't there? Like the karaoke and the person's either talking about with the
That's
song.
if I let
She'll
you
be singing
sing.
over them.
Exactly.
That's okay. That's okay.
Elizabeth knows me. She knows
She
me
got a
too
little
well.
psychic ability. We got to tap into her psychic abilities because she's speaking directly about you.
Exactly. But no, karaoke is something special.
It is. It really
And,
is.
you know, there's a lot of things in life that people don't realize have such great impact when it comes to raising our vibration.
Yes.
And I was talking about this earlier with a young lady today that you don't realize, like, this is why people work out, right? Why do you work out?
Yes.
You work out to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how much you hate working out, and I can attest to this, no matter how much you hate working out,
You feel good.
you
after.
feel good
It
afterwards.
does end.
Yes.
The torture ends, and then you're
Yes,
you're
like,
glad.
ooh.
You're glad
Exactly.
that you partook
And you
in
go
it.
home, take that shower, and you're like, I did it.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
And you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it again.
Exactly.
But the
Yeah.
thing
Right.
about karaoke is sometimes, like, some people are really good. Some people don't want to partake, but they get a lot of joy just from watching people or sometimes you gotta laugh.
True
Yes.
too.
Sometimes you just gotta laugh when
As long as
somebody's
you're
like
not laughing
so,
at me.
when somebody's so off key.
But I'll be honest with you, because I was gonna say something that actually goes against what you're saying. I've been in many karaoke rooms and I'm looking around like no one's laughing because this shit is real funny right now.
Yeah.
And
Or
then
this shit is real bad.
they sound like a dog howling at
Yeah.
the moon. And I'm like, and no one
or
is.
they're so off key.
Yeah,
It's like
you know what I like when girlfriends get on stage together and they probably have some drinks.
Yeah.
And they start
The
singing
best,
these
the
songs and they
best.
sound terrible.
But let's jump into the body of the person that sounds terrible. You can't tell them shit.
No, because
They're
they are
so
a star.
confident.
They're a
No.
star for the moment.
that's right.
So karaoke is an amazing tool when it comes to raising the vibration of
Yes.
people. But, not everybody has the luxury of partaking in karaoke, right?
No,
So, unfortunately, a lot of people do suffer from mental illness.
they do.
And a lot of people suffer from mental illness and don't even realize that that's what it is.
And that's why we're doing the show today.
That's exactly why.
So I'm going to say, if you have eyes, ears, a nose, feet, and toes, this show is for you. Even though if you think you don't deal with mental illness, you know somebody that has dealt with mental illness. And also, too, we're going to show you how sometimes your mental emotions can correlate to mental illness. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
everybody.
That's everybody. Unless you're a ghost.
Yeah, we all got it. We all got a little dabble and dribble when it comes to mental illness, and some of the key factors are kind of identifying it. But when you do identify it, we're going to go over
Yes.
at least 5 reasons or 5 ways to help you kind of transition and help you in the process of getting through your mental illness.
Definitely.
So things to consider to help you get through
Yes,
your mental
yes.
illness. So first and foremost, Liz, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You are a bright ray of sunshine.
You sure are.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for participating and also spreading the information that you know when it comes to mental illness. It's really important to make people aware of the fact. So first tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. You can call me Liz. I go by Liz.
Okay, Liz.
I'm 64 years old. I'm
Ooh.
married to Tom since 1988, mom to Megan since 1991, and mom to Ian since 1999. So my kids are 33 and 25.
Nice.
You look good.
Sure
First of all,
do.
for 64, you look excellent.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Love hearing that. Oh, start. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I think my outlet, I was very much ADHD as a kid. And I went to Catholic school. And I still consider myself Catholic. I still go to church when I can. Went to Catholic school, and I was young.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Yeah.
Because you weren't a special kid then. You were
I was
a
gonna say
naughty
that.
kid. You were a bad kid. I spent a lot of time in the corner.
Yeah.
I've been hit on my fingers with rulers. My hair was pulled, Catholic school was tough. It was very tough on me. I feel bad for the kid I was. But I finally found, my parents put me in dance and acrobatics. And from there I went into gymnastics. To this day, I still judge gymnastics. I love it.
Wow.
At some point, and I seriously considered myself a dumb jock. Like I did gymnastics all through college.
Okay.
Always thought about nursing. Always wanted to be a nurse, but knew I didn't have it.
Wow.
I didn't have it. Cognitively, I just didn't have it. Couldn't have put that type of focus.
Yes.
So I majored in phys ed.
Okay.
Taught gymnastics for years. Married Tom, who was a police officer. Had my first daughter, and then said, this gymnastics life, I always wanted to be a nurse. Is this what I tell my daughter? I always wanted to do it.
Wow.
So don't be like mommy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I woke up one day, I said, I'm going to nursing school. I was 33 or 34.
Okay. I commend you.
Yeah, me too.
So I became a nurse later in life, did a lot of years on medical surgical, very heavy, hard, physical and emotional work. We see a lot of patients, on hospice. We see them out.
Yeah.
But almost on a whim, like 9 years ago, I had a disagreement with a brand new manager who was telling me I had to work all these weekends, and it really wasn't the policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, I have just gotten on her wrong side. I possibly need to start looking. And on a whim, I looked at this, there was a job in psych, and I was like, anybody that ever went there always said it was easy. They think they're working hard, but they're not. So just on a whim, I applied.
Yes.
Got it. And I wondered, am I going to feel like a nurse?
Yeah.
I mean, but I never looked back.
But see, that's an amazing thing that people need to understand about spirituality, is that when you are meant to do something, the universe completely opens up everything for you. So it's interesting how you had these aha moments.
Yeah.
And you fell into, all of a sudden you fell into these situations that you didn't expect to occur in your life. And then look how everything just kind of transpired so freely and so easily for you. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were meant to be in psych is the point.
I was.
Yeah.
And it was tricky because when you're in med surge, patients will have pneumonia and they'll be like, when am I going to start to feel better? And you know the answer.
Yeah.
It's going to be a couple days of IV antibiotics.
I know where you're going with this.
And they're going to do a repeat chest x-ray in a couple days.
Yeah.
And when you start looking better, they're going to switch you to oral antibiotics, and you're going to be at, you know what to say to them.
Yeah.
If they have diverticulitis, I'm so hungry. I know. And I empathize, but that would not work out well. Your bowel is so inflamed right now. Mm-hmm. So the treatment is rest, and we'll just keep on the pain meds. And, you knew what to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you can't see it in mental illness.
It's so true.
That was the challenge for me.
And even for people who do experience mental illness, and this is what we kind of brought up in the beginning, a lot of people don't realize that they are having issues with mental illness, right? Especially anxiety or depression. Mm-hmm. People don't want to claim that that's what it is, and that's truly what it is. So,
and then Liz, I think I told you I dealt with depression for 20 years. So it's very interesting that you say that, because when I first got diagnosed, it took a long time for me to even accept it. Mm-hmm. And then finally I accepted it, because a couple doctors were trying to tell me I was depressed. Finally, a doctor that I adored, she sat me down. She says, I've seen this a lot. I think you're depressed. So once I received the diagnosis, then my question to everyone was, when is this going to end? Like how you were med surg patients, they were asking you, with pneumonia, there's a stop date. So my thing was, when's the stop date for my depression? Yeah. And there was no stop date. And that's what even caused me to go into a deeper depression. So I suffer from depression for 20 years. I'm out of it because of spirituality. And I'll talk about that a little later. But I agree. And what I love about your storyline is, let's start from the beginning. You said that you had ADHD. And that's also considered part of mental illness.
Yes.
And the fact that your parents were wise enough to have you into different sports to exert that energy and to give you some kind of focus. Yeah. I think that was awesome.
That was helpful.
Yes.
That was helpful.
Unfortunately, you had to go through the beatings.
I did. And I was young.
Yeah.
I'm a September baby. Okay. So in today's day and age, you might say, not quite ready. I'm holding him or her back. Yes. Like I probably would have done that with my son, because he suffers from attention deficit and hyperactive. But he was March. So, but he had a para in the classroom. Okay. We had the IEP, we had the meetings, didn't have that.
I have that too. I really do. Oh, I think a lot of people are walking around with ADHD.
I know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think our phones are making us lose, our ability to maintain focus.
So if you already had it, it's worse now that you have a phone.
Exactly.
How many times, I swear to God, I pick up my phone and I go to specifically to do something in the phone, and then I land in Instagram for like 20 minutes. I'm like, how the hell did I end up in here? Yeah. And I went to go check a text message or something. Yeah. So exactly. But I find that very interesting with your family, how they had you in these different sports. And also too, what I love about your storyline is that you had that burning desire, like Janine said, with the spirituality, where they kept nudging you.
Yep.
Yes.
Kept nudging you and saying, hey.
From a very young age.
Yes.
Now, my parents were in their 40s when they had me.
Oh, wow.
And my oldest brother was 17 when I was born, like
Wow.
almost off to college. So he was 17. The other one was about 14. Both of them ended up married to nurses. So I heard all these nursing stories, and I was
It was in your blood.
I was so infatuated with the cap. Like one looked like a little cupcake, the other one had a nurse's cap, and I thought this was fascinating as well as their stories.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of our graduation. We had the real big nurse.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was scary.
Yeah.
Do you still have your cap?
It's somewhere.
Mine's is in the attic. Do you still have yours?
No, I never did get one. No.
Wait a minute. So you was desiring or looking up these caps and never got to wear one?
No.
Oh my God, we had to have a mock graduation for you next time you come on so you can just get them.
I don't know where my graduation pictures are. You had the option, although you'd never even seen a cap,
Yes.
to put it on for your picture. The reason I did was because my hairdryer broke.
Okay.
And I was like, put it on, because my hair was like a little,
Gotcha,
So I did do it for
gotcha.
my picture, but I haven't seen those pictures in years. I don't know what I did with them.
Child.
But nursing in itself will drive you nuts
Yes.
after a little while. And nursing is probably one of the most stressful occupations that you could possibly have. And then you have to maintain your balance while you're at work. You have to be so even keel when you're dealing with people.
Absolutely.
And then we internalize it, and then you want to go home and punch a wall.
Yes.
I think sometimes we have PTSD from some of the things that
absolutely.
we've been through and experienced and had to hold back and not say anything.
Yeah, indeed.
If the patients could only hear our thoughts,
I know.
we would lose our jobs.
Yeah, because what's on your mind,
Yes.
if you actually said it, you'd be fired.
So how did you maintain your mental health throughout your career? Because that's important. How did you ever have any mental illnesses where you
I had a
battled with
breakdown in nursing school.
Oh, you did? Okay.
A real honest, where I showed up crying one day and my friends were like, you got to go to the doctor. I'm on this. And yeah.
I think a lot of people
I went through a period
I
where
did.
it was so stressful. I was coaching a gymnastics team. I was going to school. I felt like I'd screwed something up, really bad. And my instructor was talking to me about it and everything was okay. But in my opinion, it wasn't. And I showed up at school crying.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the key is that she was in her 30s.
Yeah.
Well, there was a woman who was 54 that was going through the nursing program.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think I graduated, I was 35 or 36 when I graduated. Yeah.
Because nursing school is like boot camp.
It sure is.
It is. And I went into it.
Yeah.
I want to be a nurse.
Yeah.
But now I have to touch people and put a stethoscope on them. And
Yeah.
so I had to go work in a hospital because I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just, I'm going to put the stethoscope
so
on
you-
your back?
you're
Like I was
timid.
freaking out. So I went and while I was in nursing school, I became a CNA.
That was very smart.
I had to get used to
Yeah.
just kind of invading people's privacy. Like, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's amazing. All right. I find it interesting, right, that you had ADHD and then you became a behavioral health nurse. So how was it being on that side of the fence where you knew you had a mental health issue and then having to treat people that had a mental health history?
I think one thing I've realized as a psychiatric nurse, you talk to a lot of these people and you realize any one of them could be you or your family member.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've treated so many people with addiction, and say somebody that's addicted to opiates could be any one of us. If I got my knee replaced and the replacement failed, which happens, and then they have to put a spacer in, you're back on your pain meds, then they have to finally clear up the infection, put in you're on pain meds for a long time. Could be any one of us.
It's so
Could
true.
be any one of us.
And I think, and that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people fail to realize that, again, understanding that it can happen to you, but also happening to one of your family
they're
members.
People.
Yes.
Absolutely.
They're people.
Yes.
There's somebody's mother. There's somebody's brother. There's somebody's sister, husband, child.
Indeed.
You know, what I find very interesting is that mental illness affects your whole entire being. So, like you said, a knee replacement can actually turn into mental illness. So it could go,
Depression.
it's fluid. It could go, something can trigger it,
Yeah.
or you could already have something and it just affects your whole being of a person. So a person who's dealing with mental illness, now they're in a work area, dealing with other people and having issues at work. They go home and they're having issues with their family members. You know, whatever arena they're in, they bring this illness with them, and then they have to try to function at the best way possible. And especially if they don't even realize that they're having mental illness. Like that's what happened with me. I thought everyone thought I had a brain tumor because I just abruptly just changed.
Yeah.
But I had postpartum depression and no one knew it.
Yeah.
And so going back to the whole thing with mental illness, it really affects your whole, and then it leads to diseases like diabetes,
Absolutely.
heart diseases. So that's why we're doing the
When
show
you're
today.
that low, you
Yeah.
don't care. You don't care if you shower. You don't care if you eat. You just,
Yes.
you just don't have any energy, any motivation. You know, we see this all the time in our
All the time.
patients.
And with the show, we wanted to highlight that because a lot of people look, it's like a taboo, or it's
look down on it. And
yes,
it
and
could
I
be
think
anybody.
it could be anybody, and people
anybody.
are dealing
We
with
know
mental
that.
emotions. We have people that we know personally that deal with mental emotions, and that's really mental illness. But we, you know, they're like, oh, I don't have mental illness. A lot of people walking around with high anxiety.
Yes.
I think, and they said anxiety and depression are one of the top two diagnoses in the mental health field, where many people are dealing with anxiety. I have personal people I know that anxiety is like something happens, oh my God, and they start freaking out. And it's like, okay, but you just went through something that you shouldn't have gone that crazy about. So let's peel back some layers and find out, why did you go through that? Why are you looking at it from that standpoint?
Yeah.
And so it's really important for people to focus on that and understand that you do have a problem, and let's figure out how we can help you. And
Yeah. I think we saw a statistic that said 192 million people are dealing with anxiety or
think it's
depression in the country.
yeah, something like that. And then in the world, 980 million
Yeah.
are dealing with,
I believe
something
in a
like that.
Very
Yeah.
good percentage of
of
people.
And they say every 31 seconds a person is contemplating suicide.
Yeah.
Every 31 seconds. So we done spoke at least, 31
How
seconds.
sad is that?
And
you know?
a few people have thought about, and hopefully they haven't achieved it. But
And
suicide
you and
is,
I see all the
Oh my
time the
gosh.
sutures in the wrist,
Yeah.
the burns from the rope. We
yes,
see, you know.
yes. And I
We see
apologize
this.
for anybody watching the show. The correlation between Liz and I is that we both work on the same unit. We both are psych nurses, and of course, Liz has way more years experience than I have, and we were attracted to each other from the beginning.
There was something, and we were trying to figure it out today because I am a night nurse,
And I'm a
7
day
p.m.
nurse.
to 7 a.m.,
Yeah,
and Keisha's a day nurse. And let me tell you, if I'm giving a report to Keisha at 7:30 in the morning or 7:20 in the morning, I'm in a hustle to get out. I'm
Yeah.
done.
yes.
Overdone. I'm
Yeah.
cooked. I'm ready to go. My bed is calling. So we don't. There's
Like
not a
two
lot
shifts
of
passing through the night.
Yeah. As
You
I
tag
said
each other
before,
in.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, when she's giving me a report at the end of her shift, she's going home hoping that they left her a scrap of dinner or something. You know,
Exactly.
She's starving, and I've got to hit the floor. Just like in the morning, you've got to hit the floor. There's probably 2 or 3 patients, you know, at the desk needing
I'm like, they're waiting
something.
for their pain med.
They know it, you know. So, you know, we don't talk a lot, but something happened, and I think it had something to do with
Matt Frazier.
Matt Frazier.
Yes,
I think it had
yes,
everything
yes.
to do with Matt
Our
Frazier.
friend, Matthew Frazier.
Yes, he keeps coming up in our conversations.
He does.
But what happened is when we did our show and it aired on YouTube, I was spreading the joy amongst the staff, and then I pinpointed you. And then when you saw, you was like, "I love Matt Frazier."
Oh,
Matter of
yeah.
fact, you're gonna go see him. You said in
April 23rd in Red Bank.
excellent,
I got the
excellent.
tickets.
Love it.
Yeah.
And what I loved was that connection. Well, that intro had us start talking about spirituality.
Yes.
And it was phenomenal because we even started talking about ghosts.
Yep.
Because
We
you had
sure did.
a couple ghosts in your house, and I had a couple ghosts. I think you had. Did you have a ghost, or you had your best friend?
My best
came,
friend
Her best friend
that
came.
passed away.
and
She showed
showed
herself,
up, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
it was cool.
And conversations like that can be disturbing for some people, but it was free flowing.
Yeah.
And then I was
yeah.
telling my bestie I was like, I love Liz. So then that's how we ended up here.
And I do, like I said, I'm Catholic, identify as Catholic. I
Yes.
believe in God and Jesus and saints and angels and all. But, and of course, we're taught, there's a heaven. That's where we go.
Yeah.
But when you talk, when you hear these psychics like Matt Frazier, it just, convinces you. Yes, we're right. I mean, there is another side.
Exactly. So I'm
You know,
going to say
there's
you believe in
another
another
side.
side. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So then you kind of wonder, like, what happens with people that have mental illness, right? If there is a God, why does mental health or mental illness even exist?
Child, that's the number one question. And there's so many different answers to that. So I want to delve into the people that are not meant to have mental illness, because I think there's a large amount of people who can prevent mental illness. There's some people who are born with bipolar. There's people who are born with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
So we'll leave them for last. But for the people who deal with anxiety, and anxiety can lead into depression, and then depression can lead into so many things.
Yeah.
You end up on our psych ward, or you can end up as a addict to alcohol. Suicidal. And the sad part is, because they didn't have some form of foundation, it led them to where they are now. And that's why we want to discuss how it could be prevented, or why is it even happening. And I find that when I have many patients, so when we do admissions, one of the questions is about religion. Mm-hmm. And I swear to God, like at least 99% of the people that I'm doing my admissions with are not even connecting with God.
Yeah.
Most of them are not connecting with God. So to reveal a little bit about myself, I've been a psych nurse for only a year. And with me being a spiritualist, I was already a spiritualist coming in the door. So me interviewing these people, I'm like, wait a minute, there's some kind of connection where you're not tapping into your spirituality, you're not tapping into your religion, and you're here now at this level. And it's like, okay, well, if you can't ask help from your family, then who do you go to?
Yep.
Exactly.
And so that's why it's so important for us to shed light on that. It's like there is a connection where if you can pray and meditate and ask the other side, and when I say other side, God and your spiritual team for help, maybe some of this stuff can be avoidable. Yeah. And I think the key with anxiety, when I'm around people who have high anxiety, it disturbs me because it
makes you anxious.
It does. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my patients make me anxious all the time.
Yes.
When they're really concerned, they have this new,
Yes.
Yeah.
We call that empathic.
So you're definitely an empath, and you're definitely a light worker.
Yeah.
Has anybody told you that?
No.
I'm surprised I haven't told you that. You're a light worker, and
but that's why you're there. That's why the two of you are there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's really hard for me to believe that you've only been practicing psych nursing for 1 year, because you are really good at it.
Thank you, boo.
Really good. And they have, the patients can write these thank you notes.
Oh, I got the
most.
most.
You should see. Yeah, she does. She's got the most.
Y'all didn't say that about my karaoke. I don't like what's happening right now.
Listen, this is about me
you know what?
now.
I can write you a note about your karaoke. I heard it. I heard it. I will write you a thank you note.
Yes. But you know what? One of the things that prepared me for prepared me to be a mental health nurse was I did hospice, and I dealt with home care. Home care, because you and I were both home care nurses together at one point. When you do home care nursing, you're going into the trenches. Like, you're going where the problem started. And you're dealing with the dynamics of the whole entire family. And you have to be a balancer. Yeah. And you can't join in the craziness.
Right.
100%.
So that's where I guess I had a firm foundation coming in. It was just me learning the medications and understanding the effects that they have, but just interacting with patients.
Because with hospice too, you have to, it's not just the patient's probably the least of the, it's dealing with the family. And
oh my
reassuring them and telling them what to expect. And
Oh, a lot of
trying to
anxiety
provide.
there.
Sure.
A lot of anxiety.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. And that's one of the reasons I left hospice, because the anxiety of the family members.
Very weighty, very heavy.
Because I would go, like say I went Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm saying the same script each day because they're praying that I say something totally different. So the anxiety is like, okay, let's go back over this again. And I gave the joke one time where I was with a patient who was actively dying, and she literally only had hours left. And I told, because I educated the son from head to toe what I saw and what was happening. And then he turns to me and says, so when can we start physical therapy? So listen.
Oh,
that's why I do
gosh.
well. That's why I do well in mental health.
woo.
But let me ask you guys, right? Because we are going to
Wow.
discuss these 5 things to consider when
Yes.
people have to help alleviate themselves from mental illness, right?
Yes.
What did you guys do? What do you guys do on a daily to decompress when you leave the job?
Well, you know what? Let me answer that real quick. You think about it. You have to prepare yourself before you come to work. I pray and meditate on the way to work. I really do. Like I literally, not to get too spiritual, but I literally ask my spiritual team to put a pyramid of white light over me, because you have to understand, if you're dealing with a lot of anxiety, sadness, bipolar, schizophrenia, you have to be shielded because we're empathic. And then on the way home from work, most of the time I pray and ask God to just, whatever energy has latched onto me, to get rid of it.
So you protect your energy.
I do.
Yeah.
I have to protect my energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed, I do the same.
Definitely pray in the car.
That's amazing.
I would say I suffer mild anxiety sometimes going in. I don't know what I'm going into. I don't know. But I did have a teacher, and she was kind of tough and stuffy and impatient. But one thing she said was, whatever happens in the hospital, don't ever take it home with you. Don't ever take, and those words stuck with me.
I
Love
love
it.
that.
So I do try and let it go, which is sometimes really hard.
Yes.
People can tug at your heartstrings, their stories, and
Boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Janine, I know you're not in mental health per se.
Yeah.
But in your field, you deal with so many families and patients who are, when you're dealing with cases where people are anxious about what their future looks like, you have to deal with that. So how do you?
I even deal with people because I'm a case manager, right? So we have to provide resources to people. And in the state that we live in, there's not a lot of resources available.
Yes.
So we kind of got to make it work some way or somehow, right? And it can be really sad. Number one, it's sad because you want to help people. But then, it's also very stressful because you can't always solve the problem.
Yes.
So it is heavy. It can weigh heavy on you, right? But you just do the best that you can, right? You
Definitely.
make lemonade out of your lemons somehow.
Exactly.
But for me, honestly, I like to pray it also when I prepare to go and speak to patients and family members. And then also, because I know I'm such a strong energy, sometimes when I go in the room with a high vibration, I'm able to actually change the energy in the room.
You sure can.
So when I do that, people are more inept to actually hearing what I have to say, and they'll settle for it. And I don't mean that in a mean way at all. I don't want anybody to have to settle for anything. You shouldn't have to settle for anything in life. But the reality
you
is,
give them a trusting energy.
that's a good way to describe it.
Yes.
Because the reality is, I don't always have an answer.
Yes. But they know through your energy that you're being genuine.
Genuine. Indeed.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of my keys on my shift. And I told so many of the techs who are in the nursing school, I said, whether you're on a psych ward or you're in med surgery, whatever field of nursing you go into, I said the first 2 minutes of your interaction with a patient is going to determine your whole shift. So I come in with positive energy, even if they told me that overnight the person was an asshole.
Yeah.
I act like I never knew that, and I come in with so much respect for that patient, and I just bring that energy.
Yeah.
And they could see that I'm not being fake and phony, that this is real, and I call him Mr. Sones, even if it's an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Smith, because I'm letting you know I have respect for you, and I cherish being your nurse. And I say to them, my name is Kisha, and if you can't remember my name, just remember this face. I'll be a nurse until 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that right there, I'll be honest with you,
It works.
that same patient who gave somebody a hard time for the last 12 hours before me coming in, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I had so-and-so. Let me go check on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you know what? She's cool. I'm not going to bother her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting because you'll get a report like,
Yes.
he's tough, he's irritable,
Yes.
he's this, he's that, he's demanding, he's ornery, like he,
Exactly.
and he demanded, and then you get the person, and you introduce yourself, and if I can do anything for you, or you
Yes.
just show a little courtesy and kindness.
Yeah. And nurses
suddenly
are,
they're okay.
Yeah.
nurses are really good at that.
Some of them.
I know
Well, you
some
should
nurses.
be. You should be.
You
Some
should
of them.
be.
It helps you. It helps you.
No, it does.
It
though.
does.
It helps you.
does.
You can literally go in the room and transmute the energy in the room.
Exactly. Exactly.
Literally, like if I am very late with somebody's like, oh, I'd like my meds early and I have something going on, I try and apologize profusely and explain a little bit what was happening so they don't think I was just,
Yeah.
sitting
Yeah.
at the desk on my phone or eating bonbons or whatever.
But this is what people need to remember, right? It's not just nurses. We're all nurses here at the table, so we can
Yes.
only speak from experience,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's not just nurses. It doesn't matter what profession that you are in.
You're absolutely
People
right.
have the same ability to do this. Like you have this ability to do this. It's just that you have to be aware of yourself.
Yes.
Self-awareness is very important.
And that's nursing 101.
It is.
And
Yeah.
I remember going back to what you said about your manager. One of my directors for hospice told us that. She said, I don't care if you just had an argument with your husband, before you enter that patient's home, you bring Disney World with you.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me too. Because I've seen nurses have issues.
Bring Disney World. I
And
like that.
they'll bring whatever argument they have with their loved one, they'll bring it into the room with the patient. Hello, what? No, not today. We're not doing I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Calm down a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly
So-
right. Exactly.
Now, I want to go back to the question or the subject about why is it that mental health issues, and I want to say patients, but mental health issues, people forget their foundation with religion or spirituality. I want to delve into that because I think that we need to look at the factors that cause
Yeah.
this person to be on a psych ward. Most of them have thought about killing themselves. And did they even tap into God and talk to God? Or was it something they haven't had a relationship with God for so many years or months that they said, I'm not going to even bother God?
Or they
because
were never exposed to
Yes.
any type of spirituality or God. And I know so many of these people, the very people that were supposed to protect them and nurture them and love them, abandoned them,
Exactly. But that's where it starts.
assaulted them, sexually traumatized them. Like, some of the stories that you hear, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
How,
that's great that you brought that up. And we talk a lot about shadow work, right? So the idea of shadow work is when you have these experiences as a child that you hold on to, and it sits in your subconscious, and then later it just manifests into this great demon that happens in your life. And then you actually start operating in your life as if you were that child from,
Yes.
20 years ago, and you don't even realize that that is happening, right? And that sits on you. And I think for people with mental health, and this is aside from, I don't want to, and you said you want to bring up like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder last, and this is
Yes.
correct. I'm going to bring this up last. I don't know if this necessarily can be, if this actually applies to people with bipolar or I think bipolar a little bit, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But schizophrenia in particular, I don't know if the shadow work aspect of it really applies.
Okay.
But unfortunately, a lot of people who do have this dark energy that's on them, in which, because it's a spiritual show again, I believe that a lot of it comes from negative energy.
It does.
Right?
It does.
And it's a seed that starts as a child, and then all of a sudden it just carries with you and turns into this really great dark energy that you have no control over anymore.
Yes.
So it's really sad. And then because you don't resort to things like letting it go, speaking to people about your issues, or even accepting the things that have happened to you, that, now all of a sudden you're on medication, or you have extreme anxiety under certain situations, and you don't even know where it came from.
And because you're mentioning that, people who do get therapy, because therapy is under medicine, sometimes the therapist can't mention negative energy because that's too spiritual.
Yeah.
So I've seen people go through therapy for years, but because they don't know the foundation of how this all began.
Yeah.
You know, therapist is not going to say, yeah, there's a demon in your house and that's causing you.
Yeah.
They can't talk like that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and so that's why we are here discussing this, because there is many layers to this negative energy that people have on them. Have you ever been around someone that every time you're around them, you feel this negative energy? It could be a regular person in your family. And so a lot of psych patients have this negative energy on them.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to be well suited up spiritually when we go in these units, because they see this bright light shining. And even with your job, you go in these patients' rooms to help them get out the hospital. And this negative energy is like, oh, look at this little light worker here.
Yeah.
And many times they've latched on to me. And I have to pray it off.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's really interesting you say that. Am I right? Eye keeps jumping. What does that mean? I'm going to get some money?
Oh.
Let's hope so.
Oh.
Let's go to Atlanta City after this. We looking all cute, the three of us. We need to leave that shit in.
Silly.
I'm sorry. With the negative energy, you are the master of your universe. And I try to tell this to patients without getting in trouble, because I'm very cautious on spirituality with patients. The only time I can really talk to them is when we do their mission and that question.
Yeah.
So indirectly, I tell patients, stop talking negative. Start speaking positive.
Yeah.
Because you really are the master of your universe. When you wake up in the morning, this is one of how I got out of my depression. I started talking positive to myself. I started just all positive talk. And one of the things that you'll find is that the person that is having anxiety, the person that's having depression, they are their worst enemy.
Yeah.
They hate themselves.
Yes.
They do.
It's all
like they do.
They just, you know, they
negative talk.
They're a
you
bully
know?
to themselves.
Negative talk.
Yeah. Negative
That
talk.
negative
Matter of
talk.
fact, you just mentioned the other day that there was a book that came out. What is it called? I Hate You.
Self-sabotaging.
No, I said, I hate myself.
I hate myself.
And it's a self-loathing book.
Yeah,
and it was on the Morning Joe on NBC, MSNBC. And they had discussed that so many people in this world hate themselves and you wouldn't even know it.
Oh.
And these are people that are not on psych wards.
Yeah.
That hate themselves. And they said that when you were born into this world, you did not hate yourself.
Yeah.
You actually came in with love.
Yeah.
Something along the way taught you to hate yourself.
Exactly.
And that's the whole thing with shadow work. So
Yes.
that's why we had to figure out, okay, what caused you to get to this point?
Yeah.
Was it a kid on the school grounds saying, oh, you're fat. Oh,
Yeah.
look at your hair. Look at this. You know, I tell the story how I had big breasts in second grade.
Yeah.
And they made fun of me. I hated having breasts, you know.
Instead of being a bobblehead, you were a bobble booby.
And they would, yes. And they would, like, the boys would run on the playground and tap my breasts and run.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Yes, I went through a lot mentally.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
that.
God. Yeah, but it sometimes it's those moments, right?
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
And you don't, that's what I mean. Like you hold on to it. It sits in your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, that little kid wants to creep out.
Yes.
And then, you know, you're dealing with these bouts of depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Most of the time,
definitely.
people generally do not know where it comes from.
They don't. And they'll go to therapy for years.
Yep.
And I'm not disrespecting therapy because I've seen therapy work. But one of the advantages Janine and I have, Elizabeth, and I know soon you'll be doing quantum healing with us, is that the person who's been going to therapy, and I had a person who, she went to therapy for months, but one session with me answered a lot of questions because we were able to go to past life regression or even stuff that happened in this lifetime under hypnosis, and she was able to pinpoint why things were happening at those times.
This sounds very interesting.
It's
Yes.
amazing.
Because I'm kind of a simple person. I'm not that familiar with past lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I watched the Long Island Medium, and she was reading for a woman who came there with her daughter, but the other daughter had died.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the one living daughter had a daughter, and Teresa Caputo was like, I want you to know, your daughter is in your granddaughter. She came back.
Oh my God.
She is back. And they were crying, and they were like,
Ooh,
"Oh
I
my
got
God, we
goosebumps.
always thought
Yeah, me
she-
too.
We,
It was like on
we
my
always
head
thought
and
she was an
stuff.
old soul. We always felt like she was an old soul. We just she's only 10 or whatever, but whatever. So I'd heard of that, and then after my best friend passed in 2011. Sadly enough, my daughter's best friend passed.
Interesting.
So now my friend's daughter and my daughter, we went to like this spiritual healer. And she said to my daughter that her and her best friend were married in another life. And I'm like, what?
Get out
What
of
is this?
here.
And my daughter's like, no, I could see that. We fight like, husband and wife. And I'm just like, what's going on here?
Right.
And then she said, you and Maureen were priests in another life.
Ooh.
And you have predeceased her before. And I'm like,
Wow.
what? What? Huh?
Yeah.
So that type of thing is a newer idea, concept to me.
Yes.
And I definitely want to know more about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, you
definitely.
welcome to
Yeah,
the club,
right.
Liz.
Yes.
Yes.
Apparently I'm coming back to talk about it.
Yes.
Once, you'll have to talk more about what you're going to do to me, but or
We promise we'll be gentle.
And we're gonna both do you together. We have a
But
threesome.
it'll be
threesome.
fascinating.
I looked at the camera. We're gonna do a threesome.
it'll be. I'm really interested to see.
So this is
how
a crazy
goes
thing.
down.
It's the crazy thing is it's like it's one thing to go to a psychic or medium and to be able to find the information out about having a past life in general. But this process gives you the details of the lifetime. Because what happens is that when you reincarnate, you carry imprints. Imprints from the last lifetime, and then it comes out in your personality.
It does.
Right? And then even like circling back to the subject of mental health, sometimes that mental health that we're experiencing is because of things that happened in the past lifetime.
Yes.
carried over from previous lifetimes.
That's
yeah.
why this process is so important. How can you ever move forward if you don't understand or know your past?
where you
Exactly.
came from. Yeah.
It's the truth.
Exactly. I'm glad you mentioned that because some people who they say when you with multiple with multiple lifetimes, the personality is basically the same and it's morphing as it goes along, but the foundation is the same. So someone who has high anxiety
Yep.
was probably a nervous Nelly in another lifetime, and they had
Yeah.
to come back in this lifetime to fix it.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a very important aspect of the spirituality with mental illness.
Indeed.
Is like if you have a hard time managing simple information, I have some family members, something come, oh my God, and they freaking out. And then it was funny because they'll get a phone call, oh no, we made a mistake. That's not the answer. That's not what happened. Oh, okay. Oh my God. And it's like, Jesus, like you was like, literally you went from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds and then you're back to 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that you was able to fly off the handle,
Yep.
then something is wrong here. We need to
Yeah.
fix that.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because you was that same anxiety, nervous Nelly in previous lifetimes. The guy's like, you got to go back and fix that. 'Cause
Sometimes though. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Exactly right. But
yeah.
the core of it is when it comes to anxiety and depression in
Yes.
particular, you got to let go of shit.
Yes.
That's really what it boils down to.
Yes.
Is understanding that you have to let go of something.
Mm-hmm.
But you're running on autopilot when it happens. So it's like, what do you let go of? And a lot of times people don't know. And that's
Yes.
why shadow work is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. And if you notice, a lot of times people inherit anxiety. They
They
say
do.
mama,
They do.
it had that's how mom handled it,
Yeah.
or dad was fly off the handle. He'll curse somebody like a sailor in the heart, within seconds. So now you inherit that trait from mom or dad, and
Yeah.
you go on and you
It can be
take the
inherited.
baton.
It could be learned.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Liz, I'm going to go back to this whole thing with being a priest in your previous lifetime. I had a lady who, in this lifetime, she really doesn't pray much. She really doesn't meditate. She's just very basic. And when we did the past life regression, she was a nun in one of her previous lives. And I was so amazed by that because many people feel like in every lifetime you have to have this religion and you have to, have a strong relationship with God, and in this lifetime, because in a previous lifetime she was always praying. Like, damn, like
Yeah.
she overdid the praying.
Yeah.
No disrespect to any nun watching this, but I'm just saying. So God granted her in this lifetime just to take the hat off and just get loose. So my question to you is, when you found out that you were a priest in a previous lifetime, were you surprised? Or did you ever feel like, I have this thing about me?
I wasn't surprised.
Okay.
And yet I was, like, wait a minute, past life? Huh? But that they said I was a priest, that was, I guess, believable. You know?
Interesting.
Because your personality, you're a sweet lady. I mean, I've never lived with you. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but I could see that of you.
And Liz jumps out of planes. What priest jumps out of planes?
Yes, you know what? Because we're going to talk about that
She came to live her life.
Yes. She had to be in a convent.
Yes.
She like, next lifetime, I'm doing it in.
I'm doing me.
So let's talk about this whole like jumping out of planes business. Yes, I'm glad. Thank you for bringing that up.
But it raises her vibration.
It does.
And see, that's what I mean. There's certain things that people don't realize have such an impact on how we feel.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, it's jumping out of planes.
I'm going to tell you, I was, I had trouble between my kids and had several miscarriages and that. Finally had my son, and the doctor was like, you're done.
Yeah.
But I wanted a big family. So I had him, and I was so happy. I had two healthy kids, but I just wanted a big family. You know
why? Because you probably came from a big family in a past life.
Yes.
Well, I'm the youngest of 5.
Oh,
too.
wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my husband is 2. But my husband's, whereas I embraced it and loved it, my husband was like, no, 2, that's it. His family never had enough money. We could never all get a pair of shoes for school.
Wow.
First day of school, no, 2. I want to be able to give them things, this and that. Wow. So I wasn't having any more. And I understood that. And it saddened me. It made me very sad. And for my 40th birthday, I had heard about a neighbor's son who did a tandem skydive. So you'll be strapped to somebody kind of on their belly if you're going belly down. They do everything. You don't do anything. You're a passenger.
Yeah.
They, watch the altitude. They throw out the parachute. They open it. They steer it. You're just a passenger. And I had heard about him doing that. Watched the video. I was like, I have to do that.
Yeah.
I have to do that. So I did it for my 40th birthday. And when I landed, I was like, I want to go back up there. I want to go back up.
Wow.
So I ended up doing 3 more tandems. And then I was like, I got to do this. I got to do this on my own.
I love it.
I got to do this.
Liz had a lot of aha moments in her life.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But I showed up for the class and I was 40 years old. No, I would have been 42. I got licensed and I had like pimples. I was nervous. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
What is wrong with me? I have a 4-year-old son. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But I did it.
That's amazing. She came here to live.
She did. Well,
did
listen,
it.
she was a priest.
Exactly.
How much could she have done as a priest?
Exactly.
So she was like, next time I'm doing it up, not playing.
That's
So
right.
I have been skydiving ever since. I own my own gear. I pack my own chute. I had to look in my logbook. I thought I put something on the bio about how many jumps. I said, well, I wonder how many. I have 1,833 jumps.
What?
To
Wow.
date. Yeah, I've jumped out of a plane. Those are the ones that I've logged because there's always the ones you forget to log.
Yeah.
And you go in your book and you're like, oh, let me see last week's jumps. Oh,
Has your husband ever jumped with you?
no.
I love it.
He's done.
I love it.
That was a rough patch for us.
He probably was like, bitch, you
He
crazy.
was. He was. But up until that point, we'd been married about 12 years, and I'd always followed him to all of his softball games, and he had gone hunting, and he had done his thing, and he was really, really mad. Because it took a lot of time to learn, because you have to wait for the winds to be right and the clouds to be away. So it took, you hang out and you wait.
So you was away from your husband a
So
lot.
I'd be away sometimes.
And then you was still doing judging for gymnastics too.
Yeah, and I was a nurse. I was a nurse by then too.
Well, girl.
But-
so he didn't divorce you then.
But I was per diem, so I wasn't working
Okay.
excessively.
Gotcha.
And in the summer, or in April, I think in April or May, I learned judging was just about over too. But yeah, I've been skydiving since.
I love it.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I competed in an indoor skydiving Not this past weekend, the weekend before. I was in New Hampshire. Okay. I'm on a 4-way indoor skydiving team. Now,
wow.
Indoor skydiving is kind of an oxymoron. It's the wind tunnel, but it mimics skydiving. So they sometimes call it indoor skydiving, but it is not actual skydiving.
Okay, wait. As a sidebar.
Yes.
What is that feeling like when you jump out of the plane? Like when you jumped out of a plane for the first time, were you like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh my God, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wait, I didn't die.
When you're standing in the like the plane ride up, I was a ball of nerves.
Yeah.
But once I got out and they ask you to put your foot on the strut, this little step on the plane, and you're looking down, it's not like when you're on a ladder and you're like, wow, if I fall, I'm going to break my leg. You're too high to even, oh. And then once we were in free fall, I did have a video guy who flew with us. They usually fly with a camera on their head. And he's in front like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is great. This is how it's supposed to be. Everything's going, and it was exhilarating.
Yeah.
It was exhilarating. And it's not like a roller coaster. The visual is not like that. Everything's pretty still. Everything's still.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay, that leads into my next question for you. How's your prayer and meditation life? You must be a praying fool, because anybody, and I don't mean fool like fool, but you must be a praying woman where to have that courage and knowing and faith, the faith you knew that God was not going to let you splat on the ground. That's awesome. So can you cover your prayer and meditation life if you don't mind me asking?
You always understand that what you're doing, has its risks.
Yes.
And I am a prayer. So I have known people that have died skydiving,
Wow.
And I ask them, to be my angels. I mean, one man was 68 and had a heart attack under canopy. And in a way, it was a beautiful thing. His family was like, he died
doing what he loved.
So much doing what he loved.
He designed his life that way.
He did. He did.
Crazy.
He did.
Wow.
But, I always feel like I have angels.
Yeah.
I feel like I have angels. And all right, quick story. I was in Puerto Rico last winter.
Okay.
And I was there for a big skydiving boogie, big fun, unique aircraft and lots of skydivers from all over the place. So I'm there, and I was chosen. You had to apply, but I was chosen to do the big way Puerto Rican record. Based on my experience, I have a couple state records. I've been to some big way camps. So I got chosen for it. Get to Puerto Rico. The only time we could do the record was first thing in the morning. You had one chance every morning because the boogie had to continue. These people, not everybody's there for the record. People want to fly. So you had one chance. We get there first day, third jump, parachute opens. I can get one breakdown. I can't get the other one down. I can't get it. So I start spinning, and that's a malfunction. So we have a handle. The term is cutaway because they used to cut their parachutes away. I had to cut it away. It was a malfunction.
God. Wow.
Flew in the reserve. Everything was fine. The reserve flew beautifully. It's a simple system. It's, got on the ground, and now it's like, oh gosh, the record's tomorrow. I don't even know where my parachute landed. So my friends and I got in the car. We were looking everywhere for this parachute, and I couldn't find it.
Wow.
Couldn't find it.
Wow.
And I hate to say, but the panic, I'm in the car. What's coming out of my mouth is, thank you guys so much for helping me look. I thank you so much. And what's in my mind is, I hate this fucking trip. I never should have gone on this trip.
Yeah.
If we don't find this thing, it's going to be the most expensive trip in the history of trips, because I'm going to have to buy a new canopy. I'm going to have to rent gear. It's going to cost, But anyway, we finally gave up the search for my canopy. We went I trudged into the gear store. I'm like, I'm on the record tomorrow. I need to rent gear. And the guy goes, did you look back behind the UPS store? I thought I saw a canopy. Like, people at that boogie were not helpful. Like, if you saw a canopy, why didn't you alert somebody? So we go back there. We circle around it. My friend Greg Mariola, we circle around. They're like, there it is. It's on the divider of a highway.
No.
It's on the divider of a highway.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I scoop it up. I'm like, oh, Now, I pack my main parachute. That's allowed, but I'm not allowed to pack a reserve parachute. You have to get a rigger, somebody who's trained, licensed, certified. I'm in the hangar and people are particular about their riggers. They like certain people. Is anyone here a rigger? So they got me up and running.
Okay.
He had to charge me double because he was also on the record. And then the next morning we went to do the record. Like I said, we had one try. Some people went low. They cut a few people from it. They added people. They moved people. And I was still, now I'm like, whatever happened, that was my fault.
Yeah.
So now I'm getting I'm paying for my pack jobs, which I never did. But I'm like, what if it happens again? What if whatever I did, I do again? You know, so now I'm paying for the pack jobs and I'm scared of other people pack. But anyway, we go up the next day for the record. We make the record. The parachute's flying fine. I don't have any malfunction. I land and there are 2 purple flowers in front of me on this field. These fields are well mowed and there are these 2 purple flowers.
Wow.
And I wrote this story because my goddaughter, sadly, my very good friend Mary and her husband, I was the godmother to their daughter and she died of an overdose. And they always talk about purple flowers as signs.
Look at that.
And as that parachute opened, I mean, I was having real gear fear because it was like this was very fresh on my mind. I had just had this malfunction. I just had this cutaway. It was very weighty on my mind. As my parachute opened and we did the record, I thanked my angels. I call them my army of angels. That's what I think. I have a whole army.
You do.
I do.
You really do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you. You know, I'm scared to death.
got goosebumps.
Everything's
Me too.
fine. Everything's fine. The jump went well. We got the record. Thank you. You know, I'm almost in tears. I land and there's the purple flowers and I'm like, Jen, you were with me.
Yes. Oh, I got
That's a
goosebumps
great
all over my
story.
body.
That's
Wow.
one of the signs. But her mother had like an azalea bush bloom in January with purple flowers.
Wow.
You know, so purple
she-
purple's been a
she
sign.
shows
And I
up
wrote
wherever
that
you-
whole story.
Yeah. And I can't even imagine the feeling of rewinding it when your parachute was failing. Like,
I had one other malfunction, but it was early in my career. It was like
yeah.
20 years before. And I felt like it was easier when I was younger. I was like,
So this is
it was
no,
a panic
go ahead.
situation.
no, because I'm going to circle it to something. So go ahead.
Do you feel once you saw those 2 flowers, like, did you feel official, like, they always got my back? Because after that, I'm like, listen, I can do anything now. They
The
always
first
have my
thing
back.
I said is, you were with me, Jen. That's the first thing I said. Now there were 2 landing fields in Puerto Rico. They're you know, like 2 football fields.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, they're very well mowed
Okay.
and they're very well used.
And she got them 2 flowers to
And
come
2
up.
flowers, like what?
That is some crazy.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
What are these 2 flowers doing in the middle of a landing field?
Yeah, man. These are
I
the
love
signs.
it.
They were like,
and the-
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the flowers they were. I don't know, but
These are the signs and synchronicities that happen in life
Definitely.
that people need to be mindful of.
Mhm.
You're always protected. One thing about jumping out of planes in general, it's like
Okay.
you're voluntarily causing anxiety to yourself, right?
Yeah.
So this is what people need to really know, right? You're voluntarily causing yourself to have anxiety.
Yes.
But when you come down off of that plane
Oh, it's
and
like a
your
high.
feet touch the ground,
Yes.
then you have, correct me if I'm wrong, have this moment where you're like, it wasn't so bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the waves that happen.
I like the
and
correlation
the
that you're
energy
doing. Yeah.
when people experience anxiety and they need to know that you have to start letting go of things.
Definitely. Definitely.
When you finally let go,
Yes.
the anxiety's gone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So much so that you jumped out of a plane over 800 times.
Shoot,
1800. Excuse me, I
Go
forgot
get the extra 1,000.
Carry the one.
Oh my gosh.
So with that being said, man, I want to go over these 5 things.
Yes.
Let's talk about these 5 things for people to consider
Definitely.
in order to help us
Before we say the
relieve
5
some of these
the
mental
5
health.
things, I want to
Yes.
also mention how fear is a factor of anxiety.
That is true.
So, and one of the things we emphasize that the other side hates that human beings do is we fear things. And they're like,
Yeah.
how do you fear? They say fear is what? Having anxiety over something that didn't happen.
Yes.
Happen already.
yeah.
Like you're
Holding on to things that never happened.
Happened,
Yeah.
yes.
And then also holding on to things from your past too.
Yes.
That you're afraid
yes.
to let go of.
And I've seen patients on the unit have anxiety because they fear that the nurse is not going to give them their medication on time.
yeah.
So they're fearing.
So focused, so
Yes.
hyper-focused on it. You know, like take a walk.
Exactly.
You know?
Walk,
Take some
yeah.
deep breaths.
Yeah.
And
Do
it's
some
not that
aromatherapy.
serious. It's not,
not
because
that
if it didn't
serious.
happen already, how is it is not serious yet. Now, if it happens, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, we didn't swing. Okay, so we didn't talk about also the bipolar and the schizophrenia disorder.
Yes.
So just to throw it out here, and this, we have talked about it
Yes.
a lot, is that, and we brought up negative energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our personal belief is that especially schizophrenia
yes.
is negative energy attachment.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people look at it as being, quote unquote, you're crazy or you have a mental health issue.
Yes.
But not only is it negative attachment too, but sometimes people that have schizophrenia also don't realize that they are light workers.
they're gifted. So I don't know. I don't know if you and I have talked about this, but this is a very serious
Hear us
topic.
out. Hear
and
us out,
People are going to
Liz.
look at it. I'm looking at the camera. People are going to think we're crazy, but we're speaking from experience. And I just had this conversation with a gentleman, because I still do home care part-time or per diem. And I met a gentleman the other day, and he revealed that he's been dealing with hearing voices for about 5 years now. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of our discussion, but after peeling back some layers, I realized, I said to him, so you're a light worker. And I said, because I'm your nurse right now, I cannot help you. I said, but you need to go to a psychic medium.
Yeah.
I told him that. Go to a psychic medium and have them figure out what's going on with you. I said, because you have an open portal around you and you're able to hear the other side.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we discovered is a gentleman was trying to give him some information and he would not listen. He kept doing his work because he's been clever. Like he's developed a skill where he can just hear the chatter,
Right.
but still work.
Yeah.
And he said at one point, a guy was like, I hate this dude because he wouldn't listen. He was asking him to do something for him and he wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, I said, you have an open portal and there's energy that's trying to contact you and ask you for help in whichever way. Because I just asked him, like, is this negative? Do you feel like it's negative energy? He says, no, I never feel afraid of it. It's just, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
So I said to him, go to a psychic medium.
Yeah. Some of them are mediums.
Yeah.
Some of them are mediums.
Science would tell you it's a,
Yes.
an
Exactly.
equilibrium in your neurotransmitters.
Yep.
But so that's an interesting
Concept, right?
concept.
Exactly. Now,
And
I'm
we
not
know
saying-
somebody personally that has that ability and she uses that as a gift.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And because, again, like you had mentioned earlier, a lot of them, their foundation is not in religion or in spirituality.
Yes.
That they don't realize that that's what it is.
Because matter of fact, the gentleman was Jewish.
Yeah.
So, and his
They
mom
definitely
was sitting
don't
there. Yeah.
practice
He
that.
was
Yeah.
like, and she, I was proud of the mothers. Like she was in like her late 80s and she was open-minded to what I was saying to her son. Because she could have like, don't talk that nonsense here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. So we just wanted to throw that in.
definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what do you think about that, Liz?
I like that concept
Isn't that
better
a great-
than a mix-up of neurotransmitters,
Right.
because that's, I think, probably the case with many schizophrenics,
Yeah.
that they need the medication,
Yeah, I know.
to stabilize
Exactly.
themselves.
Yeah.
And they just don't know how to filter the noise, They're getting so many different messages and they don't know how to filter it.
They don't.
So yeah. Something for us to look into.
Yes. We're going to have another show about that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it in the mental health,
During Mental Health Month?
which is in May.
May,
Maybe you
yeah.
come back for that
Yeah.
too. You're going to be on here a lot, Liz. But okay, so let's talk about the tools.
Yeah, our 5 tools. Number 1, let's talk about your first tool.
Do not suffer alone.
Yeah.
Go get some help. That's number 1. A lot of people are walking around feeling lonely, feeling like they can't talk to anyone. That's how I felt. When I was dealing with my depression, I dealt with it for a very long time before actually in my case, I didn't even know what that was because unfortunately in the Black community at that time, we didn't discuss depression the way we discuss depression now. This was
Yeah.
over 20 years ago. It was actually a taboo. Like you didn't, you
Yeah.
know, like even church people would tell me, you don't have depression. Stop claiming it. So I put it under a pillow and just
You have
laid
nothing
it
to be
in.
sad about.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So now it's more open. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
But that's because a lot of people are ashamed.
they are.
And that's unfortunate. A lot of people are ashamed. So
You
that's
know
why
because they don't want to be called crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've come a long way. I think people, I would hope, are more open and understanding.
yeah.
But I know that there's a lot of like walk-in clinics to start at, or doctor's offices, or crisis hotlines, or there's somebody you can call. There's somebody you can talk to.
Definitely. Because a lot of times people don't trust their loved ones at this point
Yeah.
to reveal to them what they're going through.
Yeah. A lot
Yeah.
also too because of judgment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think just
Yes.
calling crisis, like
Yeah.
where should I start?
Right.
I lack insurance. I need this. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because people who lack insurance should not let that be hinder
Right.
them.
There's always
from
like
getting help.
charity
Yeah.
care. There's always a way.
Definitely.
There is.
There's a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Call crisis.
Yep.
Exactly. So number two.
Acceptance of your diagnosis. So once you get diagnosed, if someone, a doctor or medical worker tells you this is what you have, accept it. Because in order to get the proper help, for you to start healing, you must accept what you have.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the hard things I had. I had to accept it. And let me tell you, when I started medication, my husband didn't know for a whole year I was diagnosed with depression. I was getting my refills. I was under his insurance, and he never knew that I was depressed. He knew something was off, but I would not tell him I was depressed because I
Right.
was ashamed and
Right.
embarrassed. So, yes.
Yeah, that's important.
Mhm.
Acceptance is important. A lot of people don't want to accept it because they're like, oh, no, not me. I never,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, but unfortunately, what happens is when you don't accept it, you resort to other things in
Thank
order to
you.
ease your pain.
like
Or like
alcoholism and
alcoholism
drugs.
and drugs.
Yep.
Indeed.
And you were a wife, a new mother.
Yeah.
So you just had to kind of go through the motions.
Yes. And I was in a sunken place.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. I'm one of those people, I can crack a joke on anything. So when I was on my medication and when the medication kicked in, like my husband, I was a housewife. So my husband left that morning, maybe like 6:00 in the morning. And then when he came back, I had dinner made. The whole house was clean from top to bottom. I was just like a new woman. I felt like somebody opened the curtains in my life.
Yeah.
And all this sunshine just started coming through. And I'll never forget that feeling.
Yeah.
And that's why you reach out for help. You reach out,
Yeah.
you use those tools.
Exactly.
They're
right.
there.
Exactly.
One of the major things people must understand, and when you said in the beginning how you can tell someone who has pneumonia when the end date is, and for someone who has a mental health disorder, sometimes there's no end date.
You can't.
But the problem we have, one of the things I was amazed at as a new psych nurse a year ago was the amount of times people come back. And a lot of times they come back because they don't take the medication appropriately.
Yeah.
They're not
because they
compliant.
don't accept it.
They don't
though.
And
accept
often
it,
they
yeah.
don't work. The
Yeah.
meds, it's the wrong medication.
That's true,
Because
too.
it's trial and error. We
It
can't,
is.
pull the neurotransmitters out of the brain.
Yeah.
Oh, you're lacking serotonin. You're lacking.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So number 3.
Number 3 is utilize modern medicine while eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle, because it's not,
Amen.
you just can't rely just solely on medicine and therapy. You have to eat right. You have to exercise. You need something else to add to that care plan.
And if you don't know, exercising actually raises your vibration.
It does.
We talked about that in the beginning, actually.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, with the karaoke.
It naturally
Walk
raises your...
in nature.
yes.
If
Yes.
you don't have a cat, pet a friend's cat. You know that?
I like that.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah,
Pet
because
a
that's
dog.
therapeutic.
Pet a dog. Bring your neighbor's dog a biscuit and see if
Yeah.
they
That's
won't
so
let you
cute.
pet
Like
the
that.
dog.
Pet
Little
therapy.
things.
Yes,
Pet
there's so
therapy,
many
but
things that
walk
they
in
have.
nature. Look at stars. Just
But
go
you know
out
what we
and
call that in
look at stars.
spirituality?
Just look up there.
Grounding.
Yes.
That's grounding. So when you go out and you
Yes.
really connect with Mother Earth,
Mm-hmm.
there you go.
You know who ground every day? The animals that live outside.
They do.
Because their feet get to touch the grass.
Yep.
So that's a cool thing. And you can actually buy grounding mats and all kind of stuff on Amazon. So
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with grounding, please, there's so many videos on YouTube about grounding.
But I'm so glad you brought that up too, because unfortunately, we live in the North, so the sun sets at a certain time, or we work all the time and we don't even get to see the sunlight.
You're right.
So that's also another contributing factor to what causes people to have depression.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you brought up grounding. That's a great tool indeed.
Definitely.
Number 4. What's the next one?
Number 4 is join support groups in person or online.
Yeah.
That's really important because
great.
you need to have a community around you, of likeness.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your family members may not accept your diagnosis. Your close friends might not accept it. But if you have people that are in the same category as you, that's why I love to see the bonding on the unit.
Yes.
They have these little groups. They become like the breakfast club on the unit. And it's awesome because they all are there with mental illness.
They help each other.
Yes.
They motivate each other.
They do. They
develop friendships.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a friend that some friends are toxic, some family members, but if you have somebody that isn't going to judge you, that's good to you, that's another person you can talk to. They're a safe person.
They're a
safe. It's a safe space.
Yeah. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is why she's a mental health
Yes,
person.
definitely.
She's absolutely a light worker. She knows all the tricks.
Did you know you were a light worker before today?
No, I don't think anybody ever told me that.
And do you know what a light worker is, though? I know we briefly talked about it, but do you know what a light worker is? Because it's really important for you to understand what a light worker is.
See, I have a lot to learn from you guys.
You're in the right place, honey.
I have a lot to learn.
Yes.
Clearly.
I can just tell your energy. And that's why I was so attracted to you.
Yeah.
Well, it was mutual. We just, it's like, these are my people. This is where I belong, right here.
Definitely.
With Kisha, because, you really, I don't know.
Because you identified.
We just identified it. And going to say it again. Night shift, day shift, 2 shifts passing in the night. No time for socialization. Here's the report. This is
that's how it be. But we would find a way to talk for like 15, 20 minutes.
We did.
Tell her why she's a light worker.
So you are a light worker because, first of all,
or what it is.
So a light worker is a person who was assigned a task, assigned to be a light worker from the time when they were in heaven. When they were in heaven, before they came down, they had a list of things to do, and they solely signed up to be a light worker. And a light worker is someone who comes to earth to spread joy, spread the love of God, bring energy in every room that they come into.
Yeah. Raise a vibration. And some people do it so naturally.
Yes.
And you do it naturally.
You do.
Thank you, Janine.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yes.
That is. Accept your new position, girl.
Yes. You're gonna get a t-shirt. I'm a light worker.
But a lot of people don't even realize that they're light workers. And you are just naturally light workers. You don't have to be a quote unquote psychic to be a light worker. And that's what we need people to understand.
And most light workers are empaths.
They are.
Because you can feel the energy.
I do feel like I'm an empath
Yeah.
sometimes.
Good.
Like I have cried with patients on occasion. I have, like I said before, when they're anxious, I tell them, when you're anxious, I'm anxious. When somebody's like, they've got a new pain in their leg and everything, I'm happy to call the doctor. I don't care if he yells at me. Well,
because you're a patient advocate. That's that light worker in you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but guess what? That leads us to number 1.
It is
the number 1 reason.
Do not be afraid to tap into your spirituality, your religion, your faith, your spiritual team. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to call Janine and I or contact us. We can do a virtual appointment with you because we need to work on your shadow work.
Yeah.
So the spiritual aspect of this whole mental illness is that there's more to it than just medicine.
It is.
You came from heaven, and why can't you contact heaven for help?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think people are afraid to ask God for help because of whatever happened in their life previously. They think God is ashamed of them. Yep. And one thing that Janine and I we try to emphasize on every show is that God wants you to win. Yeah. He wants everyone to win. I don't care. And we make a joke. I don't care if he was a whore or, a prostitute or a gambler.
My whole days.
God does not care how you started this game. He cares about you finishing it and winning. And that's why so many people are stuck in mental health wards, because they think that they have shamed God. and they are ashamed of who they are, and they are holding on to things in their past, and they really need to stop and really smell the roses and do all the things that we discussed throughout the whole show, and just really take heed and understand that you are here to win and God loves you.
Because when you don't let go, man, it just holds you back from enjoying your life.
Definitely.
And there's some people that obviously, this is why, unfortunately, if it gets, too much and they can't control the anxiety, man, it's just because it has accumulated so much.
Yes.
And you've gotten to this point where you're on autopilot with the anxiety and the depression.
Yes.
But listen, like Kisha said, we're here to help a lot of people, and we take this to heart. It's really important for people to understand the nature and the core of a lot of their mental health issues, so that way you can really start to the letting go process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on our way here, I had to share with you something I saw today where this gentleman had explained sometimes people are in love with their suffering.
Oh, yeah.
And when he broke it down, I was like, oh my God. They have lived with their suffering, whether it's mental, whether it's physical. They have lived with it so long that they're in love with it. If
they don't know any other way. They don't know any other thing.
If God came and took it away from them abruptly, they'd be like, oh my God, but I earned that suffering. I've been with this suffering for 15 years. And, and
that's
so
that's what they identify as this.
Yeah.
Yep. It has become them.
Yes. Yes. So I was like, wow, so people need to understand that you don't deserve to suffer. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Let go of that suffering and go to the light and enjoy the rest of your life.
Everything changes. Nothing stays the same.
Definitely. Couple things before we go. I want to share. I was meditating a couple days ago, and I just wanted. They gave me a laundry list. I'm just gonna just share a couple of them. So I asked the other side, what would they like for us to discuss on the show, and a couple things they want people to understand. And they said the fear. They said, get rid of fear. They said forgiveness. Start learning how to forgive yourself and forgive others. Courage is a big thing because you have to have the courage. Try your best to have a courage to even just step out on faith and go to the end of the tunnel to get to that light. Let's see what else they said. Oh, sleeping with a mantra before and after. When I say that, before you go to bed, end your night with positive sayings about yourself, love yourself. Because a lot of people who have mental illness, they'll always down themselves. I did that. I hated myself. I talked about myself like I was a third person. So when you go to bed, say positive things, and when you wake up, say What
are you grateful for?
Exactly.
Come
exactly.
on, Liz.
Yes. See,
love
that's
it.
that light worker.
Because
that's that light worker.
Because that's what we do. We dwell on the negative. I'm never gonna have the money. I
Yes.
can't travel. I can't this. Okay, but I am healthy. I do have a son, a daughter. I have a place to live. Like
yes. So you appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
And what people must understand in the spiritual world, we believe is that God is only going to give you what you can handle. So if you can't appreciate what you have now, you want a laundry list of stuff. He's like, well, if I give you the laundry list, you're not going to appreciate that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how can I give you more if you can't even appreciate the cup of coffee you're holding and the two kids that you have? So that's I'm glad you mentioned that. And not caring what people think.
Oh yeah, I had to get over that one.
Yes.
That's why we're here. That's why we have a show.
I know, because we not camera people. Oh my God! If somebody told me
I am today,
in my hand.
And that's why I'm the karaoke star that I am.
You sure are, boo.
Okay. Is there anything else on this list? Because I want to
wait before
grace the audience
before you start
again.
singing with them pipes. Removing yourself from tragedies, meaning like stop watching the news as much and get off of social media as much, because when you see this, it ruminates in your brain, and now you have your own anxiety and fears in your own personal life. Now you're worrying about stuff that's going on in the world.
Yeah,
I will say that these crashes and these planes is kind of concerning me, but stuff like that, like you got to remove yourself from that, because now you're in bed worrying about these plane crashes. So you got to remove. They want you to remove yourself from the news as much as possible. A couple things, and then I'm done with that. They said that you need to let people around you that you're close with, that you do speak to, that make an announcement. I'm only going to speak positive.
Yeah.
So when your bestie calls you to gossip is negative.
It is.
And then you fall into that trap and you start talking negative. So they said you should only have positive talk until you can handle talking negative again.
Yeah.
And if you tell people I'm only going to talk positive, you're kind of going to have to stick to your word. You know?
Yes,
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
yes.
You're going to have to put a little pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
I love it.
And last thing, let's see, the way we spoke about the eating properly, and they said go get help with your addictions. I want to say something about addictions. People must understand there's all types of addictions.
Yes.
So food is an addiction. So you might need to see a dietitian, because if you're having a hard time eating healthy, and eating healthy causes your helps you with your mental illness, you might need to sit with a dietitian. Say, listen, let's start from scratch and help me, because some people don't even know how to eat healthy.
Right. Yeah.
So, but so that's basically it from the other side.
That's great advice, other side.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
Definitely.
But how will I know if he really loves me? Woo! I say a prayer with every heartbeat. I fall in love whenever we meet. Come on, Whitney. Come on, don't sleep on me. This is what karaoke does.
Yes,
I just raised the
it
vibration in the room 10 notches.
Yes. And listen, you got any songs you want to sing, boo? We don't want her to hog up the mic.
Before we do our QHH2, no, we're going to bring it out for karaoke night.
Yes. We're going to do a live.
Exactly.
Well, we should do that a live spiritual.
A live spiritual karaoke. That's going to be great.
My.
Starring me.
You, and you.
Exactly.
Dylon.
This was a great show.
Yes,
Liz, you are a pillar of
Liz,
light.
you
Accept what you are.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are so glad to have you here, man. One thing about nurses, we are truly indeed special people.
We are.
We are. And I'm so grateful to be in a room full of nurses.
Yes, indeed.
Yay! We're healing on so many different levels.
Yes.
So,
do you want to say one last thing before you go? Or I should say we go?
God bless.
You know what?
I don't even have to. You know what? I'm not even going to say
God
my saying
bless.
tonight.
Even if whatever you believe, I ask God to bless everybody.
God bless.
Yes.
Watching.
Love
And
it.
everybody.
What a great closing to the show.
I love it.
Indeed. Everybody, remember, God is love. Love is the highest frequency, and go and find the God within. God bless.